deadly drone ops to protect another continent.
Mostly just like a business job. You go, you do your 8 to 5, 9 to 5, you come home, you leave your work at work.
Now, the unknown victims speak up.
They shoot it, and they don't know what is wrong, what is right.
The war no one talks about.
Can I be sure that it's not going to end up in a targeted killing?
Probably not.
The secret war.
Thanks for joining us here on RT International. A video has appeared online apparently showing Israeli soldiers with dogs arresting a young Palestinian in the West Bank. Have a look. The video is believed to have been filmed by a soldier and then posted on Facebook by a right-wing member of the Israeli parliament. The text that went with the post encouraged soldiers to get rid of terrorism, and it was later removed. We spoke to Akia Schatz from Breaking the Silence, an organization of Israeli veterans exposing wrongdoing in the occupied territories. He says Israeli soldiers simply want to keep the Palestinians there terrorized.
What you see there is not the dog being the dog being used to restrain, but the dog being used to terrify. The dog is a weapon. I can tell from my army service. I was trained that I'm gonna be dealing with terrorists. And I remember my first operation when I got into the house. I realized this is a family. What we are doing here is like most of the time dealing with families. And the only way I knew how to talk to them was the weapon. This is how you're being used to talk to them. You point with your gun to the left, you point with a gun to the right. The same with the dog. The dog is being used as a weapon. What you're being asked to do as a soldier is to make your presence felt, to frighten the population. I've seen a soldier abuse detainees, and it's quite common.
The world's highest peak, that of Mount Everest, is actually developing its very own mountain of trash. And there's growing concern over the threat of disease as a result. This according to Nepal's chief of Mountaineering Association. And Nepal says hundreds of tourists who flock to the slopes every climbing season are leaving their waste behind instead of taking it back with them. That includes feces and urine, since there are no proper toilets on the slopes. John Kudrowski, an environmental scientist who looked into the problem, he told us that the situation is only getting worse.
Most of the time when temperatures are, below freezing, 0 Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit, then the waste is going to be frozen in place. So over time it's going to accumulate. But if these temperatures increase, like in the May season on Everest, then that waste can melt, and then that can pose health threats. There are some companies that are educating their clients to pack their waste out. Maybe that can gain some momentum over time, and at some point everybody will do it. But for now, it's still not being done, and I think it does need to be implemented into policy.
Well, to try and tackle the problem, tourists now have to leave a $4,000 deposit, which is lost if they climb back and they arrive without their waste. Dharma Stephen organizes regular cleanup tours on Everest and says actually this is from far being the worst example.
I first started climbing on Everest in 2007, and back then it was quite bad. There was a lot of garbage from old expeditions that were left behind, and that's when I started to do the cleanups. There are also other mountains like, say, Aconcagua or Kilimanjaro. If we're talking about the 7 summits, these mountains are known also to be quite dirty.
On the way here on RT International, environmental danger in Europe. A recent study warns that air pollution could cut short the lives of hundreds of thousands across the continent. That story is on our website this hour. Also, this right